Hello everybody, this is Chloe from dissociaDID. I also have Kyle and Jade nearby in case you're wondering about why my voice might sound a little off. It's probably because of that and also because we're a little bit ill, but don't worry about us, we're fine. Today we're doing an unboxing by TOI Magazine, who run a very wonderful magazine, and we've done an unboxing from them before. The issue that this unboxing is related to is sexual assault and rape and general sexual abuse, and TOI have kindly sent us some books and also some CBD related items, which I'll tell you about a little bit later, which are supposed to help with anxiety. All the books I'm about to tell you about cover sexual assault in some way, shape or form. While I won't be going into any specific or gory detail, if sexual assault or rape is a trigger for you, please be very careful when watching this video. If you'd like to watch something else, you can find a video that we might suggest for you up here, so please feel free to click off now if this is not for you. So the first book that TOI sent me that I'd like to tell you about is called The Year After, a Memoir by Ashley Warner. We've only read the first couple of chapters. Kyle was the one who read it for me because it took me a few months to go through this box. We do have sexual trauma, so this is quite difficult to read, and I imagine it would be for anybody who is easily triggered or has some sexual abuse in their past. I definitely recommend caution when reading this book, but it is beautifully written. It's beautifully written. And some things that me and Kyle wanted to point out is that there's a lot of description while the sexual assault is happening of what Ashley remembers, and a lot of that describes dissociating. Some ways that she describes dissociating during the event: time and space took on another dimension. My mind raced at lightning speed in a slow motion world. I could not think. No thoughts paused long enough to register. I was spinning. I did not understand. My feet kicked, searching for the floor. My shoes seemed miles away. My hands were weak and unattached to my body. I could find no answer for what was happening. I continued to hover somewhere above my body. I was a spectator. Maybe I needed never to come down. If you've seen our videos, then you will know that we have dissociative identity disorder, which is a dissociative disorder. Dissociating is a defense mechanism that can occur very regularly if you do have PTSD and in traumatic events like sexual assault. Dissociating can help you get through the experience by making you feel detached from your body and the experience as it's happening. It's very common for survivors of sexual assault to have experienced this. I know a lot of people hate the word survivor in regards to people who have experienced any kind of abuse often, and I'm using this word because it feels powerful to me. But if you don't identify with that word, then that is absolutely fine. Another symptom of dissociation is not knowing how much time is passing or time moving at different speeds. And Ashley describes this as well, saying, I didn't know how much time passed as I hovered over my body. It's not unusual to see yourself from a bird's eye perspective when something traumatic is happening to you. I walked trance-like to the bathroom and back down the hall to the kitchen. It's very common for things to seem unreal. There's a lot of description of floating through the busy ER room and detached body clumping along below, things that sound as though she's not really in this experience right now because it's too traumatic. The year after, if I could manage it, perhaps one day I'll be able to read the whole thing. It's very honest. Quite graphic, not too bad. The descriptions are very easy to follow, and it explains in very plain words how she thinks and feels. If you're looking for something that may reach you, then I would recommend this book to you.
Hey, I'm Ashley Warner. Thanks for joining me and checking out my book. The Year After, a Memoir, is the story of the emotional aftermath of my rape when I was 24 years old. I was about 6 months into the hell that is rape recovery, pounding the sofas, wailing, crying, screaming, when I thought, people need to know what this is really like. I think I will write a book. And it took me a while. It was about 20 years later when I finally felt like I could come to writing that story down. I needed the perspective, I think, of a lot of healing under my belt. And I also bring the perspective of a psychotherapist, which is the work I do. I wish I had been able to read this book during my year after, but I hope that it serves you well and that you find a lot of comfort and solace in the book. And while I have you, I'll also mention that I wrote a companion journal called the Year After Journal, which offers exercises and some more essays and helps you organize your feelings and thoughts as you go through your healing journey, whether you are in your first year after or revisiting the trauma after many years. So I wish you all the best in your healing and your life, and drop me a line if you wish and let me know how you're doing. Thanks.
The other book that I want to tell you about is called To the Survivors, and this was written by Uttaro. The book is dedicated to everyone who's been affected by sexual violence. Something I really liked about this book was that it has a nice trigger warning at the start in the introduction. It recommends you not reading by yourself, having somebody with you close to you who you trust, whether they're there in person or on the other end of the phone. It does warn you multiple times that the book is graphic and it could be triggering if you're a survivor of sexual violence. Again, we only read the first few chapters of this book because it is difficult and triggering for us. The first chapter is called Childhood, and there is a lot of speculation about whether or not Robert feels he was assaulted as a child. It discusses memory loss and amnesia, which is something we talk about a lot on the channel. Having dissociative identity disorder means that we don't remember much of our childhood and we have amnesia every day. This book is a collection of stories from Robert's experience when he worked at a rape crisis center. So it's a collection of stories lived by other people about their assaults. If you're looking to understand the different ways that sexual assault can happen and that sexual violence can occur in many different ways and that there's no invalid way to be assaulted. Perhaps if you just want to feel less alone, this book is something I would recommend to you. I can't say how graphic the whole of the book is, but I know that from the very beginning, this book starts with a poem and it's very, 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 very graphic from the first word. And this is before the introduction. So please be careful when reading this book. It is very graphic.
I'm Melissa Ann, the best-selling author of Who Will Love Me? A Holistic Approach to Building Meaningful Relationships After Sexual Assault. I wrote Who Will Love Me because I always wondered who would love me if they truly knew who I was on the inside after being sexually assaulted. I felt that I had to lead this life of perfection where nobody could see that I was hurting, nobody could see my pain because nobody could know that I was a sexual assault victim. The shame and the guilt that came along with being a victim made me want to hide my true self. And at the beginning of 2018, I had this calling voice. I don't know where it came from. I can't find it, but something said to me that if you do not see her, you have to be her. And in being her, that meant it was time to share my story of life after sexual assault, to support other victims in being seen, being heard, and being loved. And not only did I need to share my story, I also needed to share the tools that I have learned throughout my travels and throughout my studies to support victims in building meaningful relationships. In the context of building meaningful relationships, we work through different areas, the body, the mind, the spirit, together to really see how beautifully whole the person is and that who they are is enough. So I hope you enjoy it. I appreciate you taking the time to read it. Thank you.
There was one more book that was sent to us by TOI, and this was the first book that I read. I didn't read it all. I was actually about to leave somewhere, and I thought, well, it would be a good time to get started and just read some poems. This book is a collection of poetry, art, prose, writings from people about their experiences. I thought that would be the easiest thing to start with. I didn't film that because I wanted to, like with these books, read them, experience them so that I could give a real review. Unfortunately, I did get quite triggered, and a little while afterwards I decided that it wouldn't be fair or as powerful if I didn't film my response after reading them. So the following is a clip from a few months ago. It's taken me a few months to get back round to these because it was quite difficult. So the following is a very raw clip of my reaction to reading those poems. I need to leave in like an hour, so it's hard to read about stuff like that if I wasn't struggling with my own trauma so much right now. And even though I am, I still feel a little bit of this. It's kind of nice to know that as horrible as it is to read and as heavy as that knowledge is, that there are other people who were hurt like me. Speaking from the perspective of somebody who has been raped, sexually assaulted more than once in her life, and this is what I actually have memory of. It's hard hitting and it's important. It's so hard to talk about those kind of things. I think that it's really inspiring that the people who have in this book have done it to give the people who are voiceless a voice. I've never told anyone the story of the first sexual assault I remember. I've told people about rape that's happened later on and assaults that have happened later on, but I've never told anybody about the first time, and I know how hard that is. And seeing the bravery of the people in this book who've written it down in such hard-hitting and artistic, poetical, beautiful language. Such beautiful language to describe something so grotesque and agonizing and wrong. I'm glad that, as difficult as it is for me to read, that they have a voice and that they're giving a voice to others who can't speak about it yet, like me. Any of us who've been through this, which is a lot of us, that we're not alone. And that knowledge is horrible, but also gives me a slight sense of community and reassurance that I don't have to handle this pain alone, because there are people out there who understand. And it's not about measuring your trauma up to anyone else. It's not about, well, theirs was more violent, or I just didn't say no and therefore it doesn't count, or, whatever. It's not about that. The line is grey and the line is hard. That makes coming to terms with things even harder. Even though I'm a little bit triggered and I've got no makeup on and I need to wash my hair and none of this is making any affluent sense, I felt like I needed to film my immediate reaction to reading like the first 25 poems in that book. And the thing that really resonates me is sharing your voice for the people who have none. It is a brave and courageous thing to do. And it kills me how many people have suffered through these kind of things. I remember sitting with my old housemates. There were 4 women I was sitting with at the time. I was one of them. We were 20? 3 out of the 4 women sitting there had been raped in their life. 3 out of 4. All of us had been sexually assaulted. The numbers are huge. The braver we are, the more we see about in the media, the more things like the Me Too movement we have, the easier it will be to talk about it, the easier it will be to combat it. Because this needs to change. Nobody is entitled to your body. Nobody is entitled to you, full stop. Doesn't matter what their relationship with you is. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter what sex you are, what gender, what you're wearing, what you're saying, whether you've been drinking, whether you're on drugs.
It doesn't matter. No one is entitled to you. No one is entitled to your time. No one's entitled to your body. No one's entitled to your mind. And I'm going to stop here because I'm triggering myself. For anyone who has gone through this, you're not alone. And I'm so sorry. I felt it really important to capture my immediate response, as raw and blatant as it is, because I think that it's important to be as honest and as genuine as I can be, as I always am on this channel. So yes, that means no makeup, greasy hair, and words that don't make any sense. Okay, back to future Chloe. Bye everybody.
The book is called We Will Not Be Silenced. It's described as the lived experience of sexual harassment and sexual assault, told powerfully through poetry, prose, essay, and art. And there's a handwritten message inside all of these books, but this one touched me. It's from Christine, Kindren, Candace, and Rachel, and they wrote, "Thank you for helping extend our reach to those who need to be heard. We will not be silenced." It's very important to share your experiences when and if you feel ready. There is no pressure to do so. There should be no pressure to do so. But why these books are so important, so many people have this base idea of what assault is, and if it doesn't match that base idea, that stereotype, then you can't have been assaulted because it wasn't like this, or it wasn't like that, or it wasn't how it looks in the movies. There's no wrong way to be assaulted. Poems and experiences of other people who've been through similar things, even if they don't match up perfectly, can be very important to change the way people view sexual violence. A lot of people don't take it seriously. I'd like to thank the authors of all these books for their bravery and for everybody who wrote something, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's very vulnerable to open yourself up like that, and I think that these books will make a difference to a lot of people. Exercise caution when reading them, but I do have to say these are powerful, and that's important. The other thing that was in the box from TOI were these. These are Sunday Scaries. They are CBD capsules, sort of like gummy treats. I've never tried anything CBD before. I was quite unsure about it. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go ahead with it, but I'm actually really glad I did. These really helped. I was feeling so scatty one morning. I was all over the place. It was ridiculous. I was dissociating. I was anxious. I just felt everywhere. One of my friends who's with me was like, well, why don't you try one of these that they sent you? There's a vegan and a non-vegan gummy version. They do taste very different. Personally, I prefer the vegan ones. They taste a lot more like gummy bears. Within about 5 to 10 minutes, I felt so calm. I didn't feel like I'd been tranquilized or zonked out or anything like that. I felt okay. I felt much better, and it was a noticeable difference. They come in lots of different colors, and they're chewy. They're just like little chewy sweets. So I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. I really wasn't sure how to feel about this. There's a lot of talk about CBD. There's no THC in this, and THC is the part of cannabis that gives you the high, right? The CBD is purely the calming effect. It has lots of vitamin D3 and B12 in there, so it's actually really good for you. The non-vegan ones actually look a lot like gummy bears. If you'd like to check out TOI, please do check out the links below. They're also doing a giveaway, and if you'd like to find out more information about that, you will also find it all down in the description. So please do go and send TOI your love. Check out their magazine articles that they have done about sexual abuse, sexual assault, rape, and how you can live a good and happy life after trauma. Thank you for watching, and I hope that some of you may have found some solace in knowing that you're not the only ones out there. Lots of love, everybody. Bye.